Hey, if you set the New Year's resolution to learn how to sew this year and you've already fallen off, this video's for you. Stay tuned. So every year there's a bunch of people who set New Year's resolutions and goals to hit. These are things they want to do throughout the year, things that they want to complete, things that they think will make their life better, the experience of their life better. And that's completely fine. The unfortunate thing is sometimes these resolutions fall through. And statistically, they kind of fall through by the third week of January. Right now, we're in the first week of February, so there's been a gap of maybe 2 weeks. And have you started sewing yet? No? Okay. So if you haven't started sewing yet, or you watched my Learn to Sew in 2025 video and haven't done anything from there, this is the video that you need to watch, okay? So today we are going to get down and dirty. We are going to actually start sewing today. I'm going to walk you through a sewing project. The goal of this sewing project is not to be perfect. It's not to get all the technical things correct. It's not to walk away from this feeling that you know exactly what to do and when to do it. No, this is not that. This sewing project is to just get you started, to get your feet wet, and to help you feel accomplished at the end, to help you feel like you've succeeded something so you can get that oxytocin and feel like you can do it again. All right, so let's get started. Today, I'm going to walk you through on how to make a bucket hat. If you remember in the Easy Sewing Projects video, I suggested making a bucket hat as one of the first projects that you can do as a new sewist to help get you comfortable behind your seam. I said that video that I will have a pattern and a tutorial to go along with it. This is it. So if you want to do this along with me, in the description box, there's a link that you can download the pattern. It is a PDF pattern, couple pages, and we'll walk you through on what to do with it, but get that right now and let's handle it. The first thing you're going to need is the pattern. This pattern is 6 pages. It comes with 3 different sized bucket hats, okay? Now, like I said, I'm not getting really technical in this, so when you buy your pattern, you can figure out which size that you need to cut out. For this video, I'm going to do the larger size because it goes over the edges, and I would like to show you guys how to quickly do that, just in case you need to use the large one. So the bucket hat pattern has 3 pieces. You have the crown, you have the brim, and you have the side panel. You're going to cut 1 of these, you're going to cut 4 of these, and you're going to cut 4 of these. All right, 2 lining, 2 self. So I'm going to cut this edge right here. And PDF patterns are essentially a puzzle that you're going to tape together and connect. You want to tape it. You have these guidelines here, these guide marks. For my patterns, you have to make a diamond, and that's how you know they're in the right spot. Now you're going to cut them out. So here are my 3 pieces. Now that we've got our pattern pieces, it's time to cut the fabric. I was going to use this fabric. This is fabric that I bought from Joann's fabric store. And I got 3 different kinds. I got this flannel, this corduroy, and this twill, all 3 which go into my style, my color palette. But for this, I do want to really get down and dirty, because what if you don't have the confidence to go to the fabric store just yet? So what we're doing is we're doing a little upcycling, okay? Upcycling is when you take what you have in your closet already that you're probably not wearing, you're not going to use, and you give it new life, all right? So in my hoarding, I have denim that I have not used or that I do not intend to wear anymore. I have shorts that are too tight for my legs now, so I'm going to cut these up a little bit to give me some fabric to use for this bucket hat. So I'm going to take these denim pants and I'm going to cut the seam open on one side. I'm going to do it on the side that doesn't have the double stitch, just because I want to keep that detail in the bucket hat. So I'm going to spread it open. I'm going to take my seam ripper, the one I advise you to get in the tools that you absolutely need video and the checklist. You can find that in the description box also. I am going to open the seam. Okay, so there's that. But honestly, this is taking too long for my liking and what I want to do here. So we're going to cut it. So boom. Open. See? Now we have enough for our pattern to fit on it. I think I'm going to cut one more leg because I think that will be enough. Now that we have our cut pieces, I'm going to cut the pattern pieces from this. Now, usually there's a whole lineup process that you have to do, but again, we're getting down and dirty. So this arrow on the pattern stands for grain line. This is the way you lay your pattern out in the grain line with the fabric and how it's woven. So I can do that here on the denim, and I will. Your grain line of your denim is up and down. So I'm going to make sure this arrow goes up and down the leg and not horizontal on the leg, okay? So the pattern says I need to cut 2 of these and I need to cut 4 of these. So let's get to it. I'll start with these patterns because we have to cut 2 and we have to cut them on the fold. So I'm going to fold my pant leg. And see, nope, it's not big enough there. And bring it down here. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Is my pant leg not big enough to do this? That's okay. Because I need 2 of them. Okay, right now I'm just making sure that all layers will be cut, all right? So then, all right, so now I'm just making sure that all layers will be cut. Got my pins. Now we're gonna cut it, and denim is very thick, so the more layers, the harder it is to cut. Just gotta use your muscles, that's all. And before we take these pins off, we're gonna mark these notches. Notches are marks or points on the pattern that meet up with something else. It's a guide. Again, not too deep into this. Now this is my favorite part because this is where you kind of see stuff starting to come together, like how it can work out. So now that we got everything cut out, it's time to sew. But before that, we're gonna thread the machine. Now this doesn't come like this. I did this on my own merit because I use big cones. Now, before I thread the whole machine, I'm gonna need, before I thread my whole machine, I'm going to need thread on my bobbin. So I'm actually gonna do that first. I'm gonna leave this on here so I don't waste thread. And then wrap this around a little bit before we do it. All right, I'm gonna put this on my bobbin winder, and then we're gonna go for it if I find my foot pedal. Take that off. Now, if you want a full tutorial of this, let me know down in the comments of how to thread your machine. Again, today we're just getting down and dirty, so hopefully by now you have glanced at your manual and this is not too new for you. But if it is, glance at your manual, please. All right. Now we have our thread. We're going to put it through the machine. Again, following the instructions of our manual. And again, if you want me to do a tutorial, I will be happy to. Just leave me a comment. All right, nope. So I'm using my needle threader to get this thread in the hole. There we go. And now our machine is threaded. So now that our machine is threaded, we're gonna start sewing the project. We're gonna start with the side pieces and the brim and then work our way to the crown. Okay, so we have our side pieces and our brim. Going to take the pins out. Now, just to tell what's what and make it easy, I'm going to do the outside in the dark blue, and I'm going to do the inside in the light blue. So. So as I'm pulling these out, I'm realizing that I didn't cut enough pieces. So back to the cutting board. So now we're gonna sew these together. We're gonna take the lining part and then pin them. So this is the right side, this is the wrong side for the lining. We're going to pin right sides together. Same with this one, right sides together. Now we're going to take the outer pieces and also pin these right sides together. So with both of these, we're going to sew the seams up 3/8 inch of a seam allowance. So now we're going to measure the 3/8 of an inch. I like to put my ruler here just to make sure I know where my lines are and where my needle needs to be to sew. So I'm going to use this as my 3/8 inch guide. And looking at the ruler, my needle needs to drop. Okay, this is 3/8, 1, 2, 3. My needle needs to be dropping right here to make this accurate. So I'm going to move it over with the other knob up top. And now my needle is here, making it more accurate. Making my seam allowance more accurate. So now we get to the sewing. Okay. You put your needle down, go forward 3 stitches, go backward 3 stitches, and forward, backward 3, stop. All right. Give a little snippy snip. The other side. Put my needle up, line it up. Forward 3, backward 3. Okay, and I'm just gonna keep that there and do the other pieces. Nope, see, I started this one wrong, so I'm going to stop, take it out, do a little snippy snip, because that was not my correct seam allowance. Put it down. Now this thread, you want to make sure it's long enough. It's called a tail. Make sure it has a tail, because when the needle goes down, it can disappear and you have to rethread it. Backward, forward. All right. Do the lining pieces. Now, all of them are done. Just gonna snip them. Boom, bop. So now that the side seams of the side and the brim are sewn together, I'm going to press them so the seam will be nice and flat. Now that that's done, we're going to do somewhat of a fun part. We're going to sew the 2 brim pieces together, press that, and then do our parallel stitch lines for the little style, little zhuzh, little oomph afterwards. Now, The parallel stitches are good to practice just your stitch quality, and to get better at making lines that aren't warped or aren't crooked. Okay, so we're going to take the two brim pieces and put right sides together. So this is the wrong side because the stitches are on the wrong side. So this is the right side, and this is the right side. So I'm going to pin these together, matching my side seams that I made, not the seams that were already here from the pants. We're going to pin on the outer edge. With the brim sewn together, I am now going to clip into the curved edges, just so when I turn it right side out, this would be nice and smooth. When you do this, you do not want to cut across this seam line. I'm going to take the brim, turn it right side out. Smooth out the curve as you go. Take my ironing board. You're going to work your way around the edge, just smoothing out the seam as you go. So one thing I like when you start sewing is that as you're going, you can start thinking of different design options, different design details that you would not have seen before you started. So with this bucket hat, It is denim, and with denim, we do love the top stitching. So like this top stitching here. And I'm thinking that on the seams that I created, and even just one of the seams on the jeans that were there before, I want the top stitch there. So even though this is not a step to make the bucket hat, I am on my own merit going to do this stitch right here to add a little detail, and then we're going to do the parallel 9 stitches, okay? So don't feel that you have to do this detail. It's just something I want, and if I'm going to wear this, I would like it to look nice. Now that I've scratched that itch, I'm going to do the parallel stitches. What you can do here is pin sections flat so they don't warp or, so they don't warp or bundle on top of each other as you're going around. Circles, anything circle is a little harder or requires a little bit more attention because it goes on the bias and things start to skew. But we're not getting too far into that because we are doing what? It down and dirty. Sorry, I had to. So I'm just gonna pin these. So since this is denim and I have some areas where my denim seams overlap, I'm going to take my time and not rush it. My sewing machine is not an industrial sewing machine, so that's why, nope, my sewing machine is not a heavy duty sewing machine. That's why I said in the video, when you're choosing your machine, to consider what you're going to be making. If you're going to be making a lot of heavy duty stuff, you're going to want a machine that can take that, which is a heavy duty machine. If you haven't watched that video, you can check it out after this one. I will put the link in the description box for you to use. I'm going to start on the outer edge and do an edge stitch, which will be 1/8 of an inch from the edge or curve of the brim. And after that, I'm going to follow a 1/4 inch each stitch afterwards. Now see how it's too big here? I'm gonna help it out a little bit. Lift my presser foot. Turn my knob. And help her get past this tough spot. Okay, coming to the end. Back stitch, forward stitch, done. Take her off. Do a little snippy snip. So this is the first one. I'm going to use this as a guide and do my next stitch 1/4 of an inch away. I'm going to use the side of my presser foot as a guide to make sure my stitches are parallel. Getting this, I'm going to mark it 1/4 of an inch away. Moving my needle over to right there. I'm good with that. So 1/4 of an inch away. So now that the brim is done, you can see that the parallel stitches made it stiffer, gave it some structure, and honestly, I'm loving how it looks. I'm fighting the urge to stitch everything, the side and the crown part, but I am going to withhold because I do want to get this tutorial out. So next step is we're going to attach the crown to the side piece. You're going to attach the lining crown to the lining side piece, and you're going to attach the self outward crown to the outward side piece. Right sides together. These have notches that we marked in the beginning right here. And what you're going to want to do is match these side seams to these marks and the center part of the piece to these marks. So I'm going to do right sides together. So this is the right side. You want to make sure your seam is open, and you're going to pin it in place. So now I'm going to sew around these edges, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, snip the curves, press. I'm clearly struggling a little bit, so you may need to add some more pins as you go. So you may need to add more stick pins than I did. I did about 8 pins. You can probably do double of those to make sure these edges don't move as you're going around these curves. And then now I'm going to snip this seam allowance just to help flip it right side out and help it along this curve. Oh, that looks so nice. Am I gonna top stitch this too? Maybe I will. This seam right now, it's a little bubbly. We're going to press it and make it nice and smooth and nice and clean. I am going to do that by putting the curve on the edge of my ironing board, and I want the seam allowance to come towards the side panel. Okay, so as I lay it on, I want the seam allowance to go towards the side panel. And then I'm going to press this edge like such. We're going to move over. Make sure that seam allowance is going towards the side panel. Okay. We're going to do that all the way around. Turn it inside out. Helps make your little curves smoother. I'm so excited. Now, I am personally going to go do some top stitching around here just to add to that top stitching detail that this is looking really dope. All right, now that the crown is sewn to the side piece and I did my top stitching, it is time to add the crown to the brim. We are going to do the outside or your self part first, and then we're going to attach the lining part. Stay with me. Lining top of the hat, self top of the hat, brim. We're going to pin the top of the hat to the brim. So we're gonna move this to the side. Right sides together. Hold on. Right sides together, matching your seams. I'm going to put a good amount of pins in here just because there's curves on curves on curves and there's different stiffnesses. I want to make sure everything stays where I need it to stay. Before I sew this, I'm just going through and making sure everything is going to be flat, putting in extra pins so none of the fabric folds on top of each other. I'm more careful about it this time because this is the outside of the hat. Pins on pins on pins. It's gonna be fire! Okay, now there's a lot of denim in here, so I am going to take my time and go slow. You can't believe I got up? What are you? From my nap? You thought I was going to sleep all night? Oh, okay. So it's the exterior is sewn together and it looks pretty dope, not gonna lie. So the next step is we are going to press this seam right here, and then I am going to sew this on the inside to the seam allowance. So now we're going to sew the lining crown to the rest of the hat. We're going to kind of fold the brim downward so it's out of the way. And then we're going to tuck it into the lining crown. All right, matching up seams, and then we're going to pin it in place. We're going to mark and leave some of it open for the finish. Okay. So you're going to stitch all the way around 3/8 inch of a seam allowance, and you're going to leave it open in between this area. Now we're going to check the seam and just make sure everything caught how it was supposed to catch. And take out all the pins. Smooth out whatever puckers we can. Okay, checking the inside. See how this didn't catch like it was supposed to, so I'm gonna redo that part. Just sew this part again. Okay, now we're gonna go to that opening. Got some puckers here, that's okay, I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna go to that opening and we are going to clip first. Now we're gonna turn this right side out. Really hope it's worth all this. Whew, okay. Now, we're gonna give it another little pressy press, and then we are going to stop, and then we are going to top stitch around, and we are going to fold this under like such, and then catch that in the top stitch. Now we're going to top stitch and sew all this up here. All right, guys, we have the bucket hat. Now, I put it on, but my puff is in the way, but we finished. This is the project. This was your down and dirty, just get into sewing project. We did it from the beginning, getting fabric, reusing the denim jeans that I had cut off for shorts, got too small, made it into a bucket hat. We went through each step by step, and hopefully now you have a bucket hat. Now, if you don't, or if you want one, you can find the link down in the description box of how to download the pattern and the tutorial to make your own bucket hat. Now, if you're really serious about learning to sew and learning the skill in 2025, please, please, please watch the playlist. It is, I think, 6 videos with this one on what to do, how to sew in 2025, from the steps you should take to breaking down a project.